You can consider this Shabbos is what's called Shabbos Mevarchim and Shabbos we bless. What do we bless on Shabbos Mevarchim? Actually, the upcoming one. So there's a special prayer that we say in the davening. You can open up if you have a blue siddur here, like we have. You could open the bottom of page 231 in the shaded area. Over there we say, let's read what it says over there as follows. It says, on the Shabbos preceding Rosh Chodesh, the following blessing is recited for the new month. And then he says, it is proper to know when the reappearance of the new moon will occur before blessing the month. The date and time are announced by the Gabbai. Rise and remain standing until the conclusion of the blessing. The Chazan holds the Torah from which the weekly portion was read at the Bima. So he gives us over here two instructions. Number one is, besides what we're doing now, number one is, he says, that it's proper to know when the reappearance of the moon is going to be before we say this. And number two, he says, please rise. We rise when we say this. Okay. What do we say? So we go on to say a little intro, and then everyone announces Rosh Chodesh will be on of this month, will be on this and this day, which comes to us for good. Now that we made that announcement, we turn the page, and then we begin to say a request for blessing. May the Holy One, blessed be He, renew for us and for all of His people, the house of Israel, for life and for peace, for gladness and for joy, for deliverance and consolation. And let us say Amen. And this is the blessing. Okay. How many blessings did we just ask for? No. What's the total of? 2, 3, 8. 8? What are the 8 blessings? What are they? What?
Here, may the Holy One, blessed be He, we do it. Us, all our people, one. Israel.
That's who it's for. That's just who it's for. But what do we ask? What's the blessing for? What's the terminologies of blessing that we're using?
So for life and for peace, up to the count.
Life and for peace is how many?
2.
2.
Gladness and joy.
Gladness
4.
and joy is 4.
Deliverance and consolation 6.
6. So we ask for a total of 6 different terminologies of blessing over here. Okay? Bear this all in mind. Now, take your siddur and let's open up now to the prayer for the day of the new month, Rosh Chodesh. This is the Shabbos before the new month. But now there's a prayer that we say, a special musaf, a special Amida liturgy that we say for the actual day of the new month, the first day of the month. And that is found in your siddur right after the Hallel. On page 313, it begins in this siddur. And we're going to jump to page 316, smack in the middle of the Amida. Top of page 316, we say, God and God of our fathers, renew for us this month. Now, how many should we seemingly say? We're asking for a blessing to renew for us this month. So how many terminologies are we familiar with already?
6.
6. Let's count. For good and for blessing. For gladness and for joy. For deliverance and for consolation. For livelihood and for sustenance. For good life and for peace. For the forgiving of sin and for the pardoning of wrongdoing. How many is that? 12.
Wow.
Oh, so now we have a total of 12 things to ask for. So the obvious question is,
why is it doubled?
Why is it doubled? Or, and the reverse, why is it halved on the Shabbos before? If we have 10 things of blessing, if we have 12 terminologies of blessing, if we have 12 blessings to ask of God on the new month, that we want the month to be blessed with 12 special things, so the Shabbos before also say 12 special things. For blessings, we're always happy to double. Don't get us, but we're not happy to cut it in half. So what's going on? Shabbos Mevarchim, the name of the Shabbos is called the Shabbos of blessing. And we do indeed bless. But seemingly we only give a half a blessing because we have 6 blessings we ask for when we know from the davening that there are actually 12 blessings to pray for. So what's going on over here? Okay, this is the question. This is what we're gonna answer this question by understanding the Jewish calendar. a little bit. We had a few lessons already on the Jewish calendar, but it's worth to re-examine, and based off what we share today, this will be explained. Okay. First, why do we say this blessing the Shabbos before? Where does it come from? What's the purpose in it? Shabbos Mevarchim, the Shabbos a blessing, because the Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh, so we ask for a blessing. We announce when the blessing is secondary. The main point is we're announcing when Rosh Chodesh is, and we ask everyone to please rise when we make this announcement. And you got to know it before you say it. You should know when Rosh Chodesh is going to be. What's the source of this? Where does it come from? Why are we making these announcements in the shul, the Shabbos before? In order to appreciate this, we have to go back in history to before, let's go 1700 plus and plus years ago. For a period of let's say for a period of about 1700 years. This mitzvah is the first mitzvah given to the Jewish people. It's found in next week's parsha. And today's lesson is going to be connected with next week's parsha. And this week is Shabbos Mevarchim also, so it's connected with this Shabbos as well. We find like this. God comes to Moses and he says, in next week's parsha, Chodesh hazeh lochem Rosh Chodesh. This month is going to be for you for the first beginning of the month. This new month is going to be for you the beginning of the month. Rishon hu lochem l'chodesh. It's the first of all the months. So God, in other words, tells Moses that today is the first day of the first month. How do you know when there's going to be another month? So the word hazeh means like this. And from here it's implied that God showed Moses exactly what a new month looks like. It looks like a new moon. When there's a new moon, so all God showed him was the first day of the month. God showed him the reappearance, the reemergence of the moon. At the first beginning, when the moon, the tiniest part of the moon can be seen, God said, this is when you know this is when to call a new month for the Jews. This becomes the first day of the month for the Jewish people. Great. And from this moment in history, for 1700 years, this is how the Jewish calendar went. New months were decided based on a vision of the new moon. In Hebrew, it's called Re'iyah. Re'iyah means vision, to see. Who sees and who determines? The determining body is the High Court, the Sanhedrin. Only the High Court in Jerusalem, only they were able, the Supreme Court, they were able to determine when the new month is. Now, why is it important? It's very important simply because how do you know when the holidays are? When's Passover? Passover is the 15th day of the month. Well, if you don't know when the first day of the month is, you can't know when the 15th day of the month is. Right? It's not like Shabbos. Shabbos, nobody has to tell you what day. If someone comes along and says that today is Monday, today's Monday from today to next year, but we're not following what you have to say because we care less. Today's Tuesday. And we count. If imagine like this, imagine the whole world forgot what day of the week it is. Nobody knows what day of the week it is. How do you know when Shabbos? You count 7 days. That's how you do it. In other words, if nobody has any idea, so they'll have to start a count. Everyone counts today, and then move on. You count 6 days, and the 7th day you rest. It doesn't work like that for the months. The months have to be determined whether the new moon was seen or not. So witnesses had to come, travel, and say that we saw the vision. We were outside and we saw it. And how would they know if these witnesses were reliable or not? They would have to make investigations. So I'd have to question them. They would question them thoroughly. Now, when you do an interrogation and an investigation, when detectives do this, there's two types of detective work. Sometimes detectives and investigators, they question somebody because they don't know anything. And they're trying to figure out what happened. That's one type of an investigation. There's another type of an interrogation, and that is where the detectives already know the end. They already know that the person is guilty. But they have a conversation with them because they don't know all the details of the story. They don't know how it happened. They don't know exactly when it happened, but they know that this person is guilty. So they speak to the person and they try to get the person to confess. Now, the difference between these two, a totally different style. Because when you know the result, if you know the person is guilty, so then the way you question them is different. Because you already know the answer to most of the questions that you're asking. And you steer the conversation. So when you're totally in the dark, so you don't know what this person knows, what the person doesn't know, you don't know anything. So then the way of questioning is totally different. So the rabbis that sat on the high court, they all knew exactly if it was possible to see the new moon or not. They were all well versed in these areas of science, what we would call today science. And in reality, it's the laws of Torah. So they all knew when two witnesses came if it's possible or not. They knew exactly what angle, what side was the light side of the moon, what side was the dark side, was it facing west, was it facing east, how distant did it seem like from the earth to you? They knew all the answers to the questions. They couldn't officially confirm the day as Rosh Chodesh until two witnesses came and said that we saw it. So this is what they would do. How do you get people to come travel? Why should a guy stop what he's doing and come to go to Israel, to go to Jerusalem and tell the court, yeah, we saw it? What's the way you get Jews to come anywhere?
Compensation.
With
Food.
food. Very good. The first thing is made a big meal. Anyone that comes give testimony, you should know we're gonna have a big feast for you. Now it's a big kiddush. All right, people are gonna come. But of course, you make a big kiddush. You have people that come JFK just for the kiddush. They don't come because they have real testimony. They come just for the kiddush. So that we have to now sift out the legit from the not. So you have to make investigations. So you have the witnesses are two. So a group of two come, a pair come. They would separate them, take the older one and ask him a bunch of questions. If the older one was found to be trustworthy and reliable, then they would go and ask the second one. If they corroborate the story, then what would happen is they would first, before they would do anything, they would call in all the witnesses. Why? Because it's a very important lesson, actually. So imagine on 1 month you had 10 people came, 5 groups, 5 pairs. So 5 groups of 2 came to say testimony. The first group comes to say testimony, and they're found to be accurate. So we don't need the other 8, right? We don't need them. But our rabbi said that we're going to ask them questions and investigate them also. You know why? Because if we say that we already got what we needed, so we don't need the rest, you guys can go home. So then next month, everyone's going to say, they don't need me anyways, why should I go? And somebody else came to do it. There's so many people that there must have been someone else. So people are going to come discouraged from going because they'll feel like they're not needed. That's why they made everyone feel needed. Even if they weren't needed, they made you feel needed. Then what happened was like this. A pair come, and it's all good. So the head of the Sanhedrin he would say, Mikudosh. Mikudosh means it's sanctified. And everyone would respond, Mikudosh. 3 times they would do this. With these 3 words, they would sanctify the new month. That's why it's called Kiddush HaChodesh, sanctification of the new month. Now, let's go a little bit rewind. Okay? How is the calendar set up based off of the lunar cycle? What is the lunar cycle? How long does it take from when the moon first appears till when you have, again, the moon to fully appear? So the lunar cycle is not exactly, but it's approximately 29 and a half days. And here's where you have a little bit of an issue. Why? Because you can't divide the calendar in half days. Can't have half days. So we know that the new moon is going to reappear in 29 and a half days. So now, every month has to have at least 29 days, right? There's at least 29 days in a month. The question is, does this month have 30 days or only 29 days? Follow? Because when you have 2 months back to back, with each month 29 and a half days, how many is that a total of? 29 and a half, it's 59. So that means if you just stop right there, you have 2 months. If you divide it, it would be 1 month, 29 days. 1 month, 30 days gives you 59. So 2 lunar cycles gives you 59 days. This is where the question was. This is what the court was waiting for 2 witnesses to come and say that they saw the new moon appear on the 30th day. What would happen when they come and say that we saw a new moon appear on the 30th day? This is a strange thing. It's very hard for us to relate to this. But every 30th day, nobody knew what date it is. Because it either could be the 30th day of the previous month, or it can turn into the first day of the next month. As soon as 2 witnesses come, it turns, and they were found to be legitimate. This day gets converted to become the first day of the next month. So right now we're in the month of Teves, Jewish month of Teves, right? So the day has 29. We're waiting on the 30th day. Today is the 22nd. Tonight is the 22nd day of Teves, right? So in 8 days from now, the 30th day of Teves, the court will be waiting. Someone's going to walk in or not. If 2 people walk in and they're found to be credible witnesses, so then the 30th day all of a sudden turns into the first day of Shvat, the first day of the next month, because today's Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh is the first day of the month. So today becomes the first day of the next month. If nobody come, no witnesses came, or no credible witnesses come, so then what happens? This month has 30 days, and automatically the next day is Rosh Chodesh. Not because witnesses came and said that it would, because it can't be. It's automatically because it's for sure the moon appeared. Because it's already 30 days from the last moon that had to have come. So when it's a full month, we'll call it, when there's 30 days to the month, the court doesn't sanctify the new month. That happens, in the words of the Rambam, that happens from heaven. No witnesses came on the 30th day, so automatically we know that the next day is the first day of the month. This day will be the day 30 to the previous month, and tomorrow will be the first day of the next month. You following? Everyone with?
Yeah.
Right?
So there's no 31 days in.
There's never 31 days. It's
Like
impossible.
the
It's impossible to be 31 days. It's impossible. It could only maximum be 30 days in the month, because it's 29 and a half days. But on average, it comes out to be that every other month. 1 month is 29 days, 1 month is 30 days. Because, as I said, it can happen. You have sometimes 30 days in a row, 29 days. It all gets settled eventually. Now, so this is where the word Kiddush HaChodesh, a sanctification of the month, comes from. Because the court would actually have to verbalize and say that today is Mekudesh, the month is sanctified, that 3 times it's sanctified, it's sanctified. Now, when the high court, was going to be dissolved due to the exile about 1600, 1700 years ago, so there was a great scholar by the name of Hillel. Not the famous Hillel that most people know from the Mishnah. He was a contemporary of Shammai, Hillel and Shammai. But this is the second Hillel, or someone call him the last Hillel, a later Hillel. He lived a few hundred years later, also named Hillel. And Hillel, when he realized what was going to happen, and basically what he did was he came up with a fixed calendar, a simple calendar, that out of the 12 months of the year, 1 month is 29 days, 1 month is 30 days. And it goes like this. It's a cycle that goes. It's a when you have leap years to fill in missing days for the seasons, everything is put into the 19-year cycle. Basically, it's a 19-year cycle calendar, and it keeps on repeating itself over and over and over. So within this context, you have in the fixed calendar, you have leap years. You have certain years where there's 10 months out of the 12 months, 10 months. We always know how many days they have. 2 months of the year, it depends what type of year it is. Sometimes they both have 30, sometimes they both have 29, sometimes one has 29, one has 30. That's depending on the year. And leap years also, which years are become leap years. So today, you can go online and you can see the Jewish calendar, what date you want for 100 years from now, and it will all be there. Why? Because it's a set calendar. It keeps on repeating itself. The system keeps on repeating itself over and over in cycles of 19 years. That's the way it works. So Hillel made it changed the way our months are established. And now we know when Rosh Chodesh is. Sometimes we have 1 day Rosh Chodesh. Sometimes we have 2 days of Rosh Chodesh. This is a new phenomenon. It's difficult for us to realize in our way of living today how days of the month used to be determined based off of a message that they would receive from the court in Jerusalem and passing that along from city to city, from village to village, from person to person. Now, let's get back to Shabbos Mevarchim. Why do we bless the Shabbos Mevarchim? Why do we mention anything about the upcoming month? What's the business with that? So this is a reminder, if you will, a memory of the way things used to be done. It used to be someone made an announcement in Jerusalem, right? They said the month is sanctified, it's sanctified, it's sanctified. Now, we don't do it on Rosh Chodesh. Why don't we do it on Rosh Chodesh? So in order to appreciate this, understand, what is this room that we're in now, where Jews come to pray? In Hebrew, what's the name for this?
Synagogue?
In Hebrew, the name is synagogue?
Oh,
Later.
A cheder means a room. No. How do you call this where Jews come to pray? It's called a Beit Knesset. It's called a Beit Knesset. Beit Knesset. If you go in Israel, right, and you want to know where the synagogue is, you say, where's the nearest Beit Knesset? They still call it the Beit Knesset. There's a yeshiva where people study. It's called a Beit Midrash, a house of study. And the Beit Knesset is a house of gathering. Why do Jews gather together? To pray. So this is called a Beit Knesset. When did Jews go to the Beit Knesset to pray?
The second temple.
No, I'm saying when during the week did they go to pray? So during the week, people were scattered. They lived far away and have cars. They hop into a car and come. You had to go to work in the farms and everything. People lived very scattered away from each other. Shabbos was the day that everyone came together to shul. At least the local group came together to be able to pray Shabbos. So Shabbos was a time when everyone came. During the week, a lot of people couldn't make it. So that's why they chose Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh, not during the week. During a weekday, you may have no one's going to be there. So in order to have this remembrance of the way the new months were established in the times of the temple, we'll call it, to have a remembrance of that, the Shabbos before Rosh Chodesh, we make an announcement in the shul to let everybody know when the new moon is going to appear. So you should know, it's important to know when the new moon is going to appear, because this is what this is all about. It's all about knowing, realizing, connecting to that really, biblically speaking, the new month should be determined based on when the new moon appears and someone sees it, not based on what it says in the calendar. So this is a memory that we try to relive in a distant way. And that's why we do it on the Shabbos before. So this is what we call, in our own little way, we call this sanctifying the new month. This is our own little miniature version of the big real story of sanctification of the new Now that we understand why we mention or talk about this, now let's go back to the davening. Why do we say 12 different terminologies of blessing, 10 different, we ask for 12 different types of blessings in the special prayer for the new month? On today's Rosh Chodesh, the first day of the month, we're going to say a special prayer, Musaf Amida, and in the Amida, we're going to ask for 12 different types of blessings. Why 12? What do you think? 12 corresponds to the months of the year. 12, we're talking about a new month today, so 12 corresponding to the 12 months of the year. In other words, every month needs a blessing. In theory, we should ask for a blessing for the upcoming month, one blessing. But since we're already asking for blessing, there's this concept called Gilgul. Gilgul Shua in the Talmud, we find it's called Gilgul Shua. Gilgul Shua means this. Gilgul means, there must be an English terminology for this. Gilgul literally means like rolling into. Someone has to take an oath and under Torah law for something, whatever. Someone watched something and something happened to it, so they have to take an oath that I wasn't negligent. I wasn't negligent in guarding your property. So now the guy also has other claims on him. Person A has a few claims on person B. But person B, for all his claims, he has good counterclaims, so we can't do anything. But for this one claim, we say, you claim you're not negligent, so you have to swear that you're not negligent. You're already swearing that you're not negligent. So also take an oath that you don't owe any money. And also, in other words, once you're already in the process of taking an oath, so we tack on a few more things, we'll give you a few more oaths that you have to take. If you weren't obligated to take any oaths, so then we can't obligate you to take the other ones. But once you're doing one, then we can throw the other ones on top and make you do that as well. And the same thing when it comes to blessings. Every month needs a blessing. Every month gets a blessing. A blessing per month. But once I'm already blessing this month, and there are other blessings to be recited for the other month, so then I might as well throw them all in now. Why not? Get more blessings. Once I'm already blessing them, once to bless them all, throw all 12 in over here. So each blessing is really one per month, corresponding to 1 month. And that's why there are some versions of the Siddur that on a leap year, if there's a Jewish leap year where we add a 13th month to the year, they add an additional blessing in that prayer. Because it's 13 months this year. So we add a 13th because we include that one as well. So in other words, the days, the blessings in this is all about connecting with the blessings of every month. We want every month to be blessed, and once we're blessing it, we're going to bless it with all the blessings that we possibly can think of that apply to what the months can need. Explains the Rogatchover Gaon, a great genius, perhaps the greatest Torah genius of the previous generation. He explained, what are we doing in the davening? The Shabbos Mevarchim, the Shabbos beforehand. What are we doing? This is not about blessing the months. That's not why we're talking Shabbos before. Blessing of the month, we say the day of the new month, we say that. The Shabbos before, we just established, this is all about a remembrance of the way they did it in biblical days. A remembrance for the way they did it in the times when they looked at the moon and determined based off of that with witnesses and everything. So this whole prayer, this whole section in the davening is all about connecting with that part of Jewish life that no longer is in existence. So we try to keep it a little bit, the memory of it. If that's the case, how many months of the year did the court actually establish as new months? If we do the math, it's only going to be 6. Because 1 month, every other month pretty much is going to work out, the calendar is going to work out, that you're not going to see it on the 29th, on the 30th day of the month. Because it depends, if last year, it depends on how many days were last month. Sometimes you're going to have to wait automatically. We know the next month no one's going to be able to come. And then it happens by itself, as I mentioned earlier. So it comes out that back in the day, the court, when Rosh Chodesh was determined based on the visual, it was only about 6 months of the year that the court actually sanctified. The other 6 months of the year happened on its own because no witnesses came and saw the new moon on the 30th day. So that month ended up having 30 days, and the next day became the first day of the next month. So based off of this, when it comes to our davening over here, we only have 6 references of blessing corresponding to the 6 months of the year that the court would establish to be Rosh Chodesh. So everything works out beautifully now. It's not that, God forbid, we want to cut out blessings. No, that's not what it's about at all. This is just, you have to understand why this is here and what we're doing. When you understand what's going on over here, you can appreciate why we have 6 corresponding to exactly the way, pretty much the way it worked. On average, that's the way it worked out. Before we had a fixed calendar, the way we know it today. Once we're on the subject of there, so of course it's Shabbos Mevarchim also comes the Shabbos of blessing, because we are blessing the upcoming Rosh Chodesh. And once we're blessing the upcoming Rosh Chodesh, of course that extends into the whole month as well. So we say God should renew for us this upcoming month with these 6 blessings. The reason why it's 6, as I just mentioned, but it gets its name, Shabbos Mevarchim, because the fact that we're going to bless, and that incorporates the day of Rosh Chodesh, which then extends to the rest of the year as well. Everyone understands? Everyone understood? This is all based off of a teaching of as I said, the way he's referred to in the yeshiva world as the Rogatchover Gaon, the Rogatchover genius, someone who the Rebbe respected greatly, corresponded with him in learning, and someone who the Rebbe spoke about many times. Really, I would say perhaps one of the only ones that truly appreciated and reached the depth of his teachings, because his teachings were written very shorthanded, and you have to really be a scholar to. When I say a scholar, I mean a serious scholar. Many times, to be able to appreciate a lot of his teachings. Okay, one final. What do you say? We should do another thing, or should we leave it here? What do you guys say?
One final.
Should we continue or should we end?
Hey, you the teacher.
I'm giving the students discretion over here to determine.
One more.
One more. Okay.
Yeah.
Rosalind?
Rosalind wants one more, it's one more.
Okay. Rosalind, this is the respect that we have for you over here.
And that's without the cookies.
All right. This week, Shabbos Mevarchim is special because the month that we're going to begin is Shvat. The first day of the month of Shvat. And if you give a look in the Torah, this first day of the month of Shvat has great significance. Historically speaking, it was a day that's marked in the Torah. Where and when is it marked in the Torah? So in the book of Deuteronomy, the beginning of the book of Deuteronomy, the Torah describes over there how Moses spoke to the Jewish people on the first day of the 11th month, which is the month of Shvat. And what did he tell them? Why did Moses tell the Jewish people? This is 37 days before Moses would pass. Why did Moses tell them for 37 days before he passed? The Torah goes on to list in the beginning of Deuteronomy, Moses gives them what we call in Hebrew Musar. You know what Musar means?
Manners?
Huh?
Manners or something? Like manners or?
He gives them reproof.
Oh,
He laces into them a little bit of his disappointments that he had with their behavior over the course of the last 40 years. Why did Moses wait till now? 37 days before he dies, to tell the Jews, to give them this musar, to give them this rebuke, to give them this reproof, to tell them how disappointed he was with their misbehaviors. Why didn't he give it to them earlier? Why didn't he say earlier? You got to know.
I was hoping they would change.
How you expect them to change? You don't tell them there's something wrong. You got to understand. In the Mishnah it says, who is a strong man? What's the sign of strength? Someone who conquers his inclination. What does to conquer your inclination mean? In one word,
Self-control.
refrain. Self-control means you refrain from doing something. That's what in other words, my impulse, my drive, my desire right now tells me to do this. To control myself means to refrain from doing it. Anytime I can refrain, that takes more strength than anything else in life. True strength is expressed in refrain. It's much easier when you're angry at someone to throw a punch than it is to hold yourself back from throwing the punch. It's much easier to say the nasty comment than it is to bite your tongue and refrain from saying the nasty comment. Much, much more difficult. We fail every day at it. But that's the goal. To conquer your inclination means to be able to control yourself not to do something. Moses, for 40 years, is carrying this on his head. He imagined the self-control that he had. 40 years he's walking around with this that he wants to tell the Jewish people, and he doesn't say a word. Now it reached the time. Now he's going to tell it to them. I mean, to be able to reach the level to hold something, to hold your mouth for 40 years, not to say something that you want to say, that's a level of strength that we don't even understand. Fine, he was Moses. Okay. But now the real question is, so control yourself another 37 days. You know? Why do you have to say anything? Let it go. Why do you wake up now? Why do you have to say something now? If you look in the Torah, the first word of the Torah is Bereshis. Bereshis means in the beginning. Bereshis, the word Bereshis starts with the letter Beis. And the question is asked, why did God choose the letter Beis to start his Torah? The Medrash explains that all the letters came before God saying, start the Torah with me. And with each letter, God found a negative. A negative. And we can't start the Torah with you. Aleph, you can't start. Orur, Aleph is curse. Aleph is the first letter of the Hebrew word curse. Can't start the Torah with you. All the letters come. Came along the Beis. Beis we could start. Why? Beis is bracha, blessing. Your Beis is the opening letter of blessing. We start the Torah with Beis. Right? Fast forward a little bit. God came to give the Jewish people the Torah on Mount Sinai. And over there, the Jewish people all heard God say the first word of the Ten Commandments. The Ten Commandments at Sinai. What's the first word of the Ten Commandments? I am the Lord your God. What's the word? I. Anochi.
Anochi.
Anochi spelled with an Aleph. Whoa, what's that? If Aleph isn't good enough to start the Torah with, but it's good enough to start the Ten Commandments with it, if there was a problem, it's the same problem we have now. How did God choose an Aleph to start the Ten Commandments? He should have been consistent and started with a Beis. Just like he started the Torah with the Beis. So what's the commandment of the Anochi? What's the essence of the commandment? Anochi Hashem Elokecha, I am the Lord your God, and therefore what? Therefore Jews have no permission to worship any other deity. In other words, built into the commandment, the first two commandments go hand in hand. I am the Lord your God, and you can't have any other gods as one. It's one idea. It's broken up in terms of mitzvahs. It's two mitzvahs, but it's one concept. I am the Lord your God, and therefore you cannot have any other deities. So God comes along with the Aleph to tell the Jewish people what they can't do. Refrain from doing something. Getting involved in the things that the Jews are not allowed to do. That's what the Aleph was all about. And here comes along the logic behind this. Before you tell somebody what they did wrong, before you tell somebody what they're doing wrong, Before you tell someone that they're misbehaving and that they should correct their ways, you have to first, you want to be effective at least, you have to first start off with nice words. You have to start off with blessings. You have to start off with compliments. Only then can you move on to the next stage. The reason why the Ten Commandments could start with the letter Aleph is because the Torah starts with the letter Beis. Once you have the Beis, the bracha, once you have the beginning of the Torah already established with blessings, so then later on God come along and give you the Aleph, tell you that you don't worship any other gods, don't get involved in these behaviors. This is not for a Jew to do. And Moses followed that same pattern in his life. Moses says like this, I'm going to come along now to the Jewish people and I'm going to tell the Jewish people, you guys served the golden calf and you guys made trouble here and you guys made trouble there. The Jews are going to look at me and they're going to say, Moses, what have you done for us? You promised us you're going to bring us to the land flowing with milk and honey. You know where we lived for 40 years? In a tent in the desert. What do you do for us, Moses? Get lost. Who are you to open your mouth over here? We did wrong. What did you do? All the things you promised. In other words, Moses realized, not that he was afraid of the pushback. Moses realizes, not going to have an effect. They're going to become defensive and they're going to attack me back. That's the way human nature is. You tell somebody did something wrong, they become defensive and they're going to attack you. You did wrong. And come into a fight. That's not what he was. That's not the purpose of his speech over here. Moses' purpose of his speech was for the Jews to let's review the behavior in order to improve going forward. In order for Moses to do this, Moshe Rabbeinu says, I have to prove myself. I have to do something good for the Jewish people. So now history, where are we holding? At the end of the 40 years in the desert, Moshe Rabbeinu just comes off of conquering the land of Sichon, conquering the land of Og, where Moses himself went and killed the king, Og Malach HaBashan by himself, the land of, and we already took all the land on the eastern side of the Jordan River, and it was already divided to 2.5 tribes. So 2.5 tribes already settled their families and their cattle, which represented their businesses. They already settled their land. So now the Jewish people realized it's happening. These things are happening. Who led them in battle? Who led them? Who's leading the cause over here? That's Moshe Rabbeinu. That's Moses. So Moses is doing great for us. You know, this guy Moses, he promised, promises made, promises kept. He's delivering. Now Moshe Rabbeinu realized, I'm going to die soon. After I just did this, we just arranged for all this land to be given and divided. And the Jews see they already have 1 foot in the door. So now is the time for me to tell them a little bit of reproof, a little bit of musar, a little bit of correction. You guys have to shape up a little bit because your behavior is really unbecoming of the nation of God. You guys could do better than this, etc. And that's how Moshe Rabbeinu really gives it to them. But when he doesn't do it overtly. He actually does it all cryptically. In the words of the Torah, it's not clear. He uses strange words and terminologies. The commentators, this refers to the golden calf. This refers to this uprising. This refers to the fact that they were complaining they didn't have meat. This refers to the fight they had there. But he didn't even say it openly. They understood what he meant when he said it because they knew what he was talking about. But we learn a lesson very important. Moshe Rabbeinu followed the pattern of Hashem, and we have to follow the same pattern in life. When it comes to, we all have areas of where we want to share with people that we know and we care about, that they can improve in their behavior. And the question becomes, how are we most effective? And this is the template Moshe gives us on Rosh Chodesh Shvat, on the first day of the 11th month that we're going to be blessing this Shabbos. This is the template Moshe gives us for life. Follow this template. Do something for them. Give them something. Help them out in life. Do them a favor. Say nice things. Be there for them. After you've done that for a little bit, then you can come along and say what needs to be said. And even then, don't come and say it in a very aggressive manner. No. Do it subtly. Do it subtly. And you'll see they'll already get the point. They'll already understand what you're saying. and they'll already be able, it will resonate with them and they'll improve. So this is the recipe for success, for improvement, is this recipe that Moshe Rabbeinu gives us. First, do good, compliment, say nice things, do good things for them, be there for them, extend yourself for them, and then you'll give them the subtle criticism. They'll appreciate it, they'll thank you, and they'll behave. They'll improve. I see a question. Yes.
You once gave four very good principles about giving other people advice. I'm not sure I can remember them off my head, but one is, am I the right person to give this information? Is this the right time to give this information? Is this information going to be absorbed or repelled? And one other similar thing.
I recall that, yes.
I use them.
Okay, thank God you use them. I hope to use them too. But that's the idea. So we covered today a nice bit of ground, understanding and appreciating Shabbos Mevarchim. What Shabbos Mevarchim is all about, what we say in the davening, what the 6 references to specifically the number 6, why in the davening there's 12, the history behind both of them, the history also of the months and how they were determined, as well as we can walk away with a very healthy way of sharing positive advice and also healthy criticisms of our fellow.
Very interesting.
You're very welcome. Anyone have any other questions? Bastian, how you doing?